Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. There's a lot to talk about today, but I want to talk at the beginning about Alligator Alcatraz. That's right, a detention center being constructed, even as we speak, in Florida. President Trump is planning to visit today. This detention center is being specially constructed in the middle of the Florida Everglades. That's right, they're building an airfield, they're building 15,000 tents, they're doing the whole 9 yards. In the Everglades, a detention center, the United States of America. This is outrageous. It is horrifying. And I must tell you, we must oppose this with every ounce of our being. I hope every lawsuit possible will be filed to prevent the building of this, camp. That's what it is. It's a camp. And remember, it's being built as summer begins, with a massive heat wave in the Florida and East Coast area, with an increasing sense that, if you lock them all up in the Everglades and you have alligators protecting them, why, they'll never get out. And who are the people who are being interned? Well, the president says they're illegal immigrants. So does Governor DeSantis. But let's think rationally here. No legal case has been made for people to be rounded up and held in detention. Where is their appeal? Where is their legal basis? There is something seriously wrong here. And we as Americans must understand that what is happening now, and the only equivalency I can come up with, was the roundup of the Japanese during World War II, where camps were created. We all know the story of Manzanar and the other camps that were established. And they were arrested because they were Japanese. These people are being held because they are accused of being illegal immigrants. Can you imagine rounding people up, putting them in specially constructed camps? Can you imagine surrounding them with alligators so they can't escape? What in the world is happening in our country? And where is the outrage? Where is the fury? If you want to detain people, then we have facilities where we can house them. But what is happening now, I remember Abe Ribicoff, the senator from Connecticut, who stood at the Democratic National Convention of 1968 and talked about Gestapo tactics in the streets of Chicago. Well, my dear friends, this may sound like a harsh characterization, but these are Gestapo tactics, rounding people up, interning them, not being able to give them a chance to appeal. There is something seriously wrong with this administration, but there is something equally wrong with American individuals who are silent. Well, on this podcast, there will not be silence. There will be outrage, and there will be fury. And yes, we will speak out, and we urge you to do the same. You must contact your representatives in the House of Representatives and in the United States Senate and tell them this is outrageous. And by the way, when Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, was asked who was going to pay for all of this, his answer, the federal government. Can you imagine? This is being done in our name. Well, let me be clear. It is not being done in my name. This is unconscionable. Can you imagine if in the late presidential campaign, Donald Trump had talked about building internment camps in the middle of the Everglades? No, my friends. This is something that needs to be exposed completely. Alligator Alcatraz is a disgrace, as was Manzanar, as are the tactics of this administration, which frankly, is spreading fear throughout our nation. Talk to those who are Hispanic, and I speak now particularly about people who are Hispanic. They are scared, even if they are citizens, even if they are legal. They are scared because these kinds of tactics should never be used against anyone. And I was asked, is there really an equivalency of deportation? The answer is the Palmer raids, 1919, when people who were accused of being communists, Eastern Europeans, and almost all Jews were rounded up for deportation. And do you remember that the Supreme Court of the United States spoke out and said, you can't do this, and the Palmer raids ended? Damage was done, no question about it. But the Supreme Court stood up. Where is the Supreme Court today? We've talked about the Supreme Court. My friends, what is happening now in Florida, the building of Alligator, Alcatraz, the idea of the President of the United States visiting this location, as he will today, this is an outrage against American democracy. And I believe we need to respond with great vigor, with protests, raising our voices, doing what we can through our elected representatives and through the courts to prevent this grave injustice from proceeding. If the government has a case to make against individuals who should be deported, let them make the case in court. But the idea of rounding people up, 15,000 beds being provided in the middle of the Everglades, is absolutely abhorrent to everything we believe as Americans. If you detect a sense of outrage in my voice, it's there because I feel it with every fiber of my being. If this can be done to them, it could be done to us. Do you understand? Do you comprehend? From the Palmer raids, to the rounding up of the Japanese, to what is happening right now in our country today, well, there is a direct line, and we must resist with every fiber of our being this great injustice. Florida deserves better in a governor, and the United States deserves better in a president. But most important of all, we are a nation, at least theoretically, based on the rule of law. Let the courts and the Congress react, and let the administration bear the burden of history for this grave injustice which is being committed in our own time, in our own place, in a moment when we should be standing up. I intend to continue to talk about this and to watch the news. I hope you will too. Imagine, my friends, the United States of America. I guess it can happen here. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand. Of course, that's our goal. I want to remind you can interact with me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, by direct email. Many of you have the audacity to call me. It's okay. And to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of this podcast, thank you, Gogo. Do a great job, and we count on you every day. I am John Rothman. I'll be back tomorrow, right here, on the voice that is speaking out against a great injustice. This is Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you tomorrow.